are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
The URSM, the Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement, being a political movement, will be hosting a weekly radio program called You Are Sint Maarten, every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Martina, the political leader of URSM, will be hosting this radio program in which current issues, actualities and general topics will be discussed with the people of Sint Maarten. So join us every Wednesday on Radio Mix 94.7 for our radio show You Are Sint Maarten.
You are Sint Maarten. You are Sint Maarten.
Dear people of Sint Maarten, good evening. Welcome to your radio program You Are Sint Maarten on Radio Mix 94.7 FM. I myself, Dr. Martina, will be your host in this radio program. As you know, I'm the surgeon working at the Sint Maarten Medical Center, serving these people of this country since 1999. And recently, since October 2021, I'm the political leader of the new political movement URSM, Unified Resilient Sint Maarten Movement. And this political movement will contest the upcoming parliamentary elections for country Sint Maarten. Personally, if I'm very honest, I hope that this will be sooner than later, considering how it's going with our country at this particular moment. As you know, this URSM stands for putting the people and, of course, the country above self, and believes in educating and informing the people of this country. And we strongly believe that there should be a sound balance between economic growth and a welfare society. We are presenting a weekly radio program in which current topics, community developments and issues, and general matters concerning the people of Sint Maarten are discussed. Last week, for example, I did not have an invité in my radio program. I decided to present that program on my own, and I spoke with the audience about the autonomy of our country, the concept of a democratic deficit, and also how the kingdom government works. And at last, because I'm a doctor, I decided also to give some incentives in the challenges that we are encountering now that we are thinking to develop a sustainable financing model for the healthcare of country Sint Maarten. And today I decided again to invite a special guest in our program. And today I invited Mr. Herbert Martina to be our special invitee. Mr. Herbert Martina, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much, Dr. Martina. Good evening to the listening audience. Indeed, my name is Herbert Martina, and some people might better know me as Prince.
Thank you, Herbert. That's a nice introduction, actually.
Yes.
Herbert, the reason that I decided to invite you to our radio program is because you're a dynamic young person working very hard in this community. You are actually, and that's actually the reason that triggered me to invite you, is that you are very, very involved into community activities, initiatives to try to get the communities back up to par in a level that is acceptable for a society, a country in development as our country. Mm-hmm. And because of the fact that you are very involved into community matters, you try to do your part, as we say, to help the people in the districts and the communities. That is one of the reasons that I decided to invite you. But also because if we trace back your history, I see also that you have been a candidate on a political party list. So I realize that, of course, you are very ambitious in the political arena too. But first of all, Herbert, before we continue, I think it would be nice if you will use your biography actually as a background context to introduce yourself to the listeners.
Okay, let me just first of all start off by giving a little background of my education. I went to the MPC, but then I went to the St. Maarten Academy. After that, I immediately went off to study in the Netherlands. Big up to Rotterdam, you know. Went to study in the Netherlands. I did communicatie creatief, which is loosely translated communications, creative communications, and specializing in PR. Okay, so I know a little bit about PR. I started politicologie. However, I did not finish that. You know, I wanted to start working. I wanted to earn some money. Stayed in Holland for quite some time, until 10 years, and I thought it was necessary to come back to the island. The kind of person that I am, I always like to get involved. I can't see injustice. I can't see something not going the way it's supposed to go. And that was one of the reasons that I always, from young, always did community initiatives, you know, whether it's a basketball team trying to go away, whether it's a cleanup, a campaign, whether it's just organizing, anything when it comes to district cleanup and district initiatives. I was always there. Now, one of the reasons I decided to throw my hat in a race, as it were, and to become a politician was I thought that, you know, serving the people outside of the political arena, outside of parliament, is good. But how much more I could do in the political arena, you know, passing laws and legislation and all of those. So I decided, hey, let me throw my hat in the race.
Great.
I went, you know, I started off with the PPA, and then I went to the National Alliance, and there I tried about a couple of times. Okay, after there was a falling out between myself or meningsverschil, you know, a disagreement between the political party. I decided not to be affiliated with the party any longer. And to be quite honest, I'm happy that I took that stance and decision, and I'll tell you why after.
Okay.
And I'm not bashing anyone.
Sure,
I'm just letting them know where I was.
Yeah.
You know, and then an election was to the table. You know, the last parliamentary election, and I decided not to run.
Okay.
I decided not to run because no longer do I want, dissolvement of parliament or sending home ministers, and then because of that, I want a full cycle, a full political cycle to at least play out. And then you can say, you know what, the people went to the polls, they selected, they voted, and a government is in. And that's why I decided not to run. Okay. And here I am, still doing my political analysis and everything, but I never deviated from doing community work because I think that's the backbone of a society.
Herbert, in the beginning, in your introduction, you said that you're very sensitive for injustice in community, and I do believe that the districts, the communities can be a sign of how injustice plays out in our community. What are the major injustice acts that you see in your community that you think, now if I would get the opportunity to get in a position to call some shots, what are the basic first steps that you would take to try to combat this injustice that you were talking of in your introduction?
Okay. When I look at abroad, when I go away, I always look at how the community structure is in different countries. Okay, so what I'm saying now is nothing to deviate or something special. When I go to different countries, and I go in a parish, I go in a district, I always see a community center. I always see a playground, basketball court, whatever sport is dominant there, and I see different schools. Okay? Here it is that we are in 2022. And let's take a area as Middle Region, for instance. There is no community center. I think that's a great injustice. Empowering the community councils, I think that it have been tried, but it was not done the right way. And doing something, making changes to those kind of things is paramount importance. Strengthening the community councils so that they would be able to be empowered in order to make certain decisions. When you see, and I'm going like here and there, but I just want to show you some of the injustices and some of the things that I think that would be a great idea. If we empower these community councils, okay, it would make the life of government so easy. When you look at when hurricane is approaching, okay, you empower your community councils, they would be able to disseminate information. Not only that, we had the COVID situation that came up, okay? Now, how else would we get the information out there, right? And we start with a community council.
Yep.
All right? Then after hurricanes, when it's either sharing out of tarpaulin, sharing out of food and everything, who else know these people than the community, the community council? Now, there's no hurricane. Let's say there's no hurricane, there's no natural disaster, there's no pandemic, all right? There's old cars that are at the roadsides. There's a cleanup that needs to be done. Now, you don't know who the cars are for, but they need to get off of the public roads, okay? We see that the Ministry of Romi would put a red mark on it, like this is to be discarded. But before they do that, they have to put a paper stating an announcement that listen, within this amount of time, this car is supposed to be moved. All right. Now, if we empower our community councils, they know exactly who this car belongs to. You know, they can at least contact these people and say, listen, it wouldn't cost the government, because every car wreck that needs to be moved, it comes out of the pocket of
the
government.
Taxpayer, yes.
Exactly. The taxpayers eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Something simple as that. I'm thinking we're in 2022. We can't get that right. What about going on the chassis, checking the VIN number, going on the engine, checking the VIN number? Who was this car registered to the last? But it all comes with having good records and putting everything into place.
Yeah. And you know, Herbert, that is very realistic what you try to describe to us now and explain us. What you see nowadays is, and that is in this current government also the case, is that you see a disconnection between government and the people outside there. But actually, it's the people that put the government there. And the only task the government has is to make sure that they make sure that they take good care of the business of the people outside there. But if you do not have that communication line back to the people, you are going to lose the contact with the reality of the country. And then you're going to sit locked up in your government building and thinking about development for your country without really realizing what the primordial needs are of the people of this country. And that is what is happening now, Herbert, in this country, is that there is a cry of the people at this particular moment, and especially the neighborhoods that is actually representing the reality of your society, are in cry and in their need. And the people in government are doing as it's business as usual. And that concept that you are describing of empowering the community councils is a great method to keep a communication between government and the reality of daily life of the people in the neighborhoods. And I do believe also that we will have to organize it not only better, but the infrastructure should be there too.
Definitely.
To have this community council effectively functioning to serve the people of that neighborhood. For example, what you just said just now is that there is not even a community center. So if the center is not even there, how do you think that this can become a functional council to actually keep a good open communication with government, keep the government good informed about the daily reality of that neighborhood, and also to try to serve the people of that country through a well communication with government. But it's something to work on, Herbert, in the nearby future. Yes, you wanted to say something more,
I wanted
Herbert?
to comment on that, and we talked about we're talking about the infrastructure as well. All right. Now, empowering the community councils, that's one thing, but the structure, okay. We often hear when you want to have a community center, right? The community center have to be, especially living in this region, have to be multi-purposed, okay. It have to serve the community in its entirety. Okay, we're talking from young to the seniors. We can have programs, especially dedicated afternoon schools. When it's time for disaster, right, and somebody's roof fly off, they can be housed right there. If their homes are not safe, they can go right there. Okay, water, and it needs to be stockpiled. When it comes for afternoon school projects and stuff, it can be utilized. When it's a big party in the community, right, you can have it right there. So it is a means of bringing the community together. That's the central point of the community. But we need to invest some money.
Yeah.
And where do we get this money? You know, it needs to be equipped with generators. It needs to be equipped with a good kitchen. It needs to be equipped with different, with computers, the latest technology, so that we can have a center that can be it can be used for multi-purposes.
Yeah,
all right?
Of course, yeah. But actually, what is important, Herbert, is that it's a matter of priority. Of especially the yearly approval of budgets to govern the country with, because the budget is actually a law. And it's a matter of priorities, what is the best way to invest in this country. And what you see, of course, is that we are not tackling the first things first, the first necessities of a country. We always want to be at another phase of development, while we did not take care of the primordials of a community. And for example, what you said, these community councils are absolute necessities to start with, to be in a good organized community. And that is, you have neighborhoods, as you said, that doesn't even have a community center. Imagine now that you want these neighborhoods to be well organized.
But doctor, you spoke of priority.
Yeah.
Okay. The last time we had a hard-hitting hurricane, Irma, was 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. I would think that 5 years along the line it is time.
Yep.
It is high time that we understand, and we're going into a next hurricane season very soon.
Yes.
It is high time.
Yeah. But Herbert, I thought, I of course, as the leader of this URSM, together with all the people surrounding me, I often think about what are the solutions for this country, and actually it's just to commit and do what has to be done. For example, we have recently seen the development that the government would bring a big surprise to help our country. and then you see that they are doing something with trying to get a. Actually, I think it's a form of combating youth unemployment, and they're bringing it as if it's something big they're bringing, but actually the only thing that you're doing is just doing their job. And of course, there is something to say that you're looking for alternatives and solutions to, for example, combat your unemployment in your country. But to bring it as if you have brought something serious to the dance floor to help this country, I'm very, very impressed in a negative way how it has been brought to the community of Sint Maarten, as if they have brought a solution for a big fundamental issue and problem of this country, while it's just putting a few people on a cruise ship. That is as such a good thing to do, by the way, but I do not think that the vision of this country from this government is so poor that they have to bring this as if it's something big they have done for country Sint Maarten. It's just their task to take initiative to see how we can help the unemployed in this country to get something to do. And they bring it as if they are going an extra mile to bring this simple solution as if it's something big. I do believe this is lack of vision. I don't know how you see it.
Doc, let me just say this, okay? We all know that the election cycle is about to finish very soon. And this is what we call, they need notches on their belts. They need to feel as though they have been doing something and they have accomplishment. Now remember the National Alliance, who once went with the slogan, we accomplish, okay? And that's their mantra, okay? And if you're now a sitting government and you haven't accomplished major strides, you're going to celebrate the little victories as such, okay? So I don't want to beat up on them, you know. When I say don't want to beat up on them, I said I don't want to like rain on their parade, okay? This is their little victory that they think that will bring solutions, but I don't think it's sustainable. Why? What's going to be the pay? What are the agreements basically set? We know how those jobs are. They're very, very hard. And I'm not saying that St. Maarten people, you know, can't do hard work. I'm just saying it's 16 hours, you know. You get 1 or 2 times off of port when per week. You're going to different countries. It's not the best of the best job. It's not the creme of la creme. Okay, let's just face it. It's hard jobs, and it's jobs predominantly when you go on these cruise ships. You see Filipinos, you see Indonesians, you know, and it might go a long way, but the dollar, you know, wouldn't stretch really hard here in St. Maarten. So what are the agreements? We need to know this. You know, how long is this going to be? All of those questions comes to mind. And then we do as if it's a big announcement. Why didn't they just say, listen, this is what we have, and boom.
That's it.
Why create the whole hoopla around it? Why make it seems like, you know, we're waiting on this big announcement, especially when gasoline prices are at the all-time high, especially when the people are bawling for relief, especially when there's other Caribbean countries giving those sort of reliefs and deciding, hey, let's give some real reliefs, okay? No tax on imports on juices, fruits, food. You know, those are the things we want to hear. Real relief. Okay,
yes.
Not that you're going to say now, okay, we have
an agreement,
and
we're going to sign a memorandum. That doesn't mean that is in effect.
I mean,
that still has to happen. But okay, Herbert, time is running on us.
Yes.
We're going to take a small break, and we will be back in a few minutes. Dear people of Sint Maarten, welcome to the second half of your radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. As I said in the first half of this radio program, today we have as invitee in our program Mr. Herbert Martina. Mr. Herbert Martina, we had already a long conversation in the first half of our program. And one of the things that you said in the beginning in your introduction is, of course, that you have always been very interested in politics, and even that you started the study of political science in Holland. Unfortunately, you didn't finish it for circumstances, but still shows that you had interest in the political field in general. You are a very ambitious young gentleman in this country. What do you envision as the future on the short term for your country, Sint Maarten? I'm talking about the short-term vision for your country, because you're an ambitious politician. You would like to see your country prosper. What do you envision on the short term? And then I will ask you for the long-term visions for country Sint Maarten. Where do you see your country in 20, 25 years from now? But let's start first with the short-term visions.
All right. Again, thank you for the opportunity. Short term, very good question. I want to see the things that was promised to us, from since 10 be realized. I want to see houses for young people. I want to see that realized. I want to be able to see that a young man who is working a 9 to 5 can make ends meet and buy a house.
Very good.
Right? I want to see that Sint Maarten begin to realize that if there's a natural disaster, our food supply, at least we can grow some basic necessities. I also want to see that our people be empowered and no longer just accept leaders that are just giving them sweet talk, no longer accept leaders because we're cousins, no longer accept leaders and vote them in because they have something to, receive from that. Our people are smarter than that. I would like to see us elect people, true representatives, because we have a lot of work to do on this country.
Great. Very nice. Herbert, you spoke about houses.
Yes.
You touched my heart with that statement, because I also believe that housing as such is a basic right. So far I go with it. I find it a basic human right to have a good housing to spend your life in. And until now, I do not see a vision of government to supply the people of this country with housing. But that is, of course, a difficult topic, because always when I speak about housing, I am speaking about social housing, but I'm also speaking about affordable housing.
Of course.
There are two sectors, actually, two social classes that you have to take care of. Is your social housing sector and also your affordable housing segment of your society. To start with, for example, the social housing, I believe in a concept of rent to buy. If you have you construct the houses, and you give the people the opportunity to get one of those houses, and with the years they pay the rent, but at the end of the day, after 25, 30 years, this house will become theirs, and they will live and have a nice, peaceful life in their house. And the next generation also is going to enjoy an own family property. I think that is the way life should go for everybody. Secondly, you have the affordable housing, and I do believe that is a big challenge, the way we are looking at it, because the mortgage interest percentage of commercial banks is too high for the people of this country. You have a mortgage of 7-8% as interest rate to buy a property. Who can pay that? It's impossible. And that's why I said it many times already in the past, that a great way to do it is to come with a development bank, and what they call in Dutch an ontwikkelingsbank. And if you have a national development bank, you can offer loans with an interest rate of 1.5%, 2%, and then it becomes payable for the middle class, the base of the middle class of our society. And in that way you try to help people to come to a nice way of having a house in their life. And I think that is the dream of every citizen of a country, and we have as a government the responsibility and the task to see how we can fulfill that dream for each individual living in this country. Of course, empowering also the people of this country. First of all, Herbert, we are talking about a development of our country. There are people that are already talking about independence. I think there is a big step between that, in between step before we start talking about independence, because I do believe that we have to increase the intellectual property of our country. If you do not have educated people, technically also educated people, to technocrats, bureaucrats, you are not going to get through with the development of your country. And that is a great vision you have on the short term for achievement for your country. I have two more to help you with, because I see that your heart for your people beats in the same cadence as mine. I do believe that we have to do something with this minimum wage and also the old age pension of the people of this country. These are short-term actions that I dream of to fulfill for the people of this country.
And those are the things I told you, the things that were promised
many years ago already.
Many years ago, things that they're beating the drum on.
Yes.
Those are the things. So you
yes, of course. Short-term action plans to Herbert is, as you said already, looking back in the necessities in the neighborhoods. You are a young guy nowadays, young boy, 13 years, coming from school. After your homework, in case you have the facility and the infrastructure to sit somewhere and do some homework, that's already a big question, I find. Imagine you finish your homework. What are you going to do that afternoon? Where are you going? Is there a sport complex activity that offers you some entertainment in a great way to keep your mind healthy? So I do believe that we have to put a lot of attention to sport activities, actually after school activities for the school-going kids of this country. There is no structural after-school activity organization for this country. And I think if we want to have a healthy community, I do believe these are things that we should organize for our people.
Dr. Marcelina, let me interject, and I know you're on a flow here, right? I know that government, they oftentimes, especially youth sports and culture education, I know that they oftentimes focus on the youth, and what they consider youth is 18 and under. And this is where the social gap becomes so dangerous, whereas what becomes to the person when they are 18 to 25, okay, then there's not a lot of things catered to this person, okay, where it comes to activities, sports. Already when you're 18, you're out of your prime when it comes to sports. What happens to a person then, okay, a young man? Where does he resort to, and what is his activities? What is he left to do? And this is where I see that we really need to take a keen look at how will we cater to these individuals. If you go in the prison system, and if you go in the prison and you ask how old are these guys, 18 years, 19, 20 years, they're in the prison, okay? Why is it? Is there a correlation to not having activities for them? Is there a correlation that we don't gear our attention to these young individuals? You know, so we really need to take an in-depth look at what becomes to a person when there's no longer afternoon school activity focus for him, when everybody is gearing, and rightfully so, gearing, because the youth is our future. But what happens to when the youth is the future, and they're discarded?
Yes,
You
and
know?
not invested in
Exactly.
them. Yes.
So we really, really need to take a look into that age group and see what we can do as a society in order to help these individuals.
Yeah.
And one of the things that a lot of people underestimate is a simple thing as a CV writing class. A simple thing as in filling in an application form. All right. I can give you a small story, and I don't want to run out of time, but this young man, he could read everything, and he was going through. He saw a ad in the papers, and he's like, "Boy, I want this job now." And I'm like, "But why don't you go for it?" And every excuse in the book. When push come to shove, and I found out I don't know how to write the CV, and they want the CV.
Yeah, incredible.
I say, is that what is stopping you
Basics.
from applying for this job? Something basic as a CV.
Of course.
We sat down. I went through, I tell him what a CV means and how to set up a basic CV. He got the job.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know it was this easy.
Yes.
Imagine how much people out there, just because of a CV, just because of filling in an application, that is their barrier for getting a job to start their life.
Of course.
And these are the things that I'm talking about that we really need to put attention on.
Of course. And one short-term too vision, Herbert, next to all those fantastic ones that you have in mind, is also our garbage management of our country. And I do believe if we want to compete in the Caribbean, in the tourist sector, we will have to have a nice destination product to sell to our tourists. And what I'm realizing every day is that this whole island is becoming a dump. All over the place you have wrecks. Wow. All over the place you have overfilled garbage bins. Everywhere you see cups and bags and trash. And it's becoming like the common image of the street nowadays to have a disorganized, dirty environment. And we are telling ourselves that we want to be a great tourist attraction destination for the Caribbean area. And we have to realize that there are a lot of beautiful countries in the Caribbean that are taking care of their island. And we want everything, but we do not want to go the extra mile to make a great tourist product. But next to also making it beautiful, to sell our country as a tourist market for the future, it has to also do what type of people are we that we accept to live under these circumstances of a horrible garbage collection around us. Herbert, I'm telling you, if the URSM gets the opportunity to get in government, what I pray to God, and I hope that's one of the first actions that I'm going to take, that I'm going to give this island an aggressive cleanup with resistance of citizens or not. I do not care. I want to have a organized, clean Sint Maarten to live in with my family, with my friends, and with every citizen in this country. Secondly, Herbert, we spoke about the short-term vision that you have for your country. Do you have long-term visions also for your country? It's a tough one, but you thought about it?
Yes. I would like to see a St. Maarten that is not only self-sustaining, but I would like to see a St. Maarten that is producing instead of importing.
Yeah.
I would like to see industries come here. I would like to see our people be empowered in order to set up different things and export things like juices, things like soap powder, things like candles, things, whatever it is. I think that in this day and age, we should be able to have at least some fabriken, some
Industries.
some industries
Yeah.
that our people can be employed, and that we can have something as a national pride to look out for.
Yes,
When we take up a soda and we say, "Hey, this is a Phillipsburg," or whatever,
Made in Sint Maarten.
made in St. Martin,
Yes,
and the
fantastic.
neighboring islands. We're so situated into the Caribbean, whereas everything can be shipped from here.
Mhm.
And why is it that we import so much stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few more, Herbert, that I often think on is, for example, the monetary unit that we have now, the Antillian guilder. I think that it's not serving the purpose anymore. And I'm questioning myself every day and discussing this matter with a lot of persons that have a good idea about it. Is, for example, if we will have to go the direction of dollarization of this economy, or to introduce the euro that we have already on the French side, because we are talking on Sint Maarten today about one people, one country.
yeah.
If you talk about one country, you should have one monetary unit. I mean, and if you think that Sint Maarten should be one country, as I do believe it is, you will have to think: is it good for the country if we go to the dollar, or is it good for us to officially go to the euro? I think this is a long-term vision that you have to start asking yourself: where are we going? In which direction we would like to go? And these decisions will have to take place. Otherwise, we are going to have a standstill with this community. 2 or 3 extra big things that I think should be organized for this country, and I call it actually mid-long-term achievements for the country, is I do want a great mental health care system for the people of this country. Every day I drive in the car, I see, and people understand what I want to explain them now, I see new faces on the road. You have the common known faces that becomes, as a matter of fact, like a furniture for us because we know them already. And although we know them, there is no effort from government to help those guys that we all know on the street. But next to that, there is something alarming happening, that nowadays I see every week a new face walking around on the streets of Sint Maarten, that I say these are actually dropouts, not from school, but dropouts from society.
Yes.
And I do not see the government taking any action to see how we are going to deal with this. And what you are seeing now with all the increase in these new faces, I call them the dropouts of our community, is actually a signal, a sign, a symptom that we as a government are failing towards our obligations for this community. And I'm very worried not only to see those already that are walking around, that nothing is being done for them. I'm even more worried that I see that they are getting more and more on the street. And that is, as I said, an alarm sign that we are losing the social security model that we have as an obligation, as a government obligation for the community of Sint Maarten.
Yeah, I do agree with you full-heartedly. Doctor, once I read an article which have a correlation with sewage, the constant smelling of sewage, and mental health capacity or state. I'm no health expert or mental health expert, so I don't know if that study is based and founded in any truth whatsoever. But I can't help to look at areas where sewage water is prevalent. Let's take Dutch Quarter, for instance, okay? And then we see some mental health patients, persons with mental health issues walking the streets of Dutch Quarter, all right? I see them in St. Peter's as well. I can't help but to say, hey, maybe there is some fact inside of this study. So I would like to see something done about that, and also to see what we can do. But coming back to community councils and community effort, they would be the first to identify these people,
Of course.
and say, hey, listen,
Something's
there's
going wrong there.
something going wrong here. How can we help? And if they are equipped, then they would be able to as they say, grijp in very, very quickly, instead of seeing them drifting from one district to the next and then eventually in Phillipsburg.
Of course.
So those are the things that
A mid-long-term vision for me too, Herbert, and I'm sure for you too, is for us to have a respectable detention center for our country, where people are treated with respect, where the human rights are respected. That when we go to bed at night, we have the feeling that we are really treating each other like humankind, and that is a big worry for me, this prison. And of course, I would like to see my great hospital one day serving the people of this country, but that is a dream that I think I will have to put my own shoulders under it to get it for it to become a reality for this country, because too many years we are busy with this hospital project.
Oh yeah.
And I've been working in it on the floor, but I think now the call is for me to really, really put my own shoulders under this project, and I hope the people will give the URSM the support, the mandate, for at least for myself also to get the opportunity to realize this big dream that is a dream for a lot, but especially for me, walking since 1999 around in this healthcare of Sint Maarten. I think this would be my ultimate dream, to contribute my own effective part into it, to crystallize it, to have this hospital before I finalize my career as a surgeon for Sint Maarten. Herbert, we had a great conversation with each other in the past hour. I really appreciated your presence. I want to thank you for the time that you took out to be with us in this program. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, time is running on us. I want to thank you for being with us today in this radio program, and I'm looking forward to have you back next week, Wednesday, between 6 and 7 o'clock on Radio Mix 94.7 for our next radio program, You Are Sint Maarten. Have a great night.